So we are joined by Rui and João.
Yeah, João.
João. Okay, perfect. You two are the peers behind OpenNote, a fantastic Lightning Network payment processor magic. How did you get up with the idea? How did you figure it out that this was a useful thing to do?
So back in the days when I was looking at the space, I found out Jack Mao's project actually is up. Found it very interesting, and I basically met the team behind the OpenNote team there in the open source project. I started then looking at some plugins for e-commerce, namely e-commerce was the first one. I open sourced it, and it got very popular. I would say it got some traction, and from there we thought, oh, why we should start building more of these. There were no infrastructure for like these kind of e-commerce platforms to accept Lightning payments, and we were talking with some of people in the industry back then, and they were keen on the idea about the Lightning Network, but there was really no solution for them to actually try it. So you basically started that way.
Yeah, so you looked into the market. You found, oh, there's actually a problem here. Nobody's providing a solution for it. So you went out and did the solution.
Exactly.
So a bit more about the technical architecture of OpenNote. What is actually going on there in the background?
So we are a custodial solution. So we handle all infrastructure for our customers, the merchants that work with us. So we run our own nodes. We run Bitcoin full nodes, Bitcoin Lightning nodes. We run all the. Is this working? Okay. We run an API for developers that want to build on top of us. So we're like a all-in-one shop for anyone that wants to accept Bitcoin and not have to worry about infrastructure. So we kind of run all of that for them. I'm not sure if you want to get more technical in this, but
what Lightning implementation are you running?
We're running on LND at the moment, but we have infrastructure set up to be able to run on multiple implementations. So that is the goal. Nice. We're planning to have that by year's end, hopefully. Oh, yeah.
And so what do you like about the LND architecture?
We just started with LND. There's a few things that we like about it. There's also things that we see in other implementations that are also very interesting. See Lightning's plugin system looks very interesting. So we spent some time during this past couple months just building infrastructure on our end that will allow us to be able to plug into multiple implementations without having to really choose. So that's some work we've been doing, and it's kind of behind the scenes stuff that our customers don't really see, but it will be very helpful for us to be able to play around with multiple implementations.
And so right, I mean, inherently you work a lot with entrepreneurs and businesses, and also individuals, right? So where would you say is roughly the kind of dividing line? How many are more on the entrepreneurial side? How many are just regular users?
I would say it's fairly like half. To be honest, the type of the value of the transaction is fairly different, and the volume, meaning that businesses most of the times they transact a highly amount of value of transactions, rather than when application developers basically do a lot of transactions with small amounts. So I even told yesterday on the panel, like most of our transaction volume, meaning the number of transactions, comes from LN, around 96-98%. So it's a big number, but the transaction value, it's like 90% on chain.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah, but it makes sense, right? With Lightning Network, for larger payments, you pay a higher fee, right? For on-chain payments, you pay per byte, not per value transacted, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. And especially also because of the limits that are set up in the Lightning Network, so you can't really send large amounts. And we have a lot of merchants that just do traditional on-chain. Most of our merchants' customers use regular on-chain payments because that's what they're used to, and they're not Bitcoiners. They don't go to conferences, so they just have some Bitcoin, or maybe they buy it to send to the merchant. So that's when Lightning gets more widely adopted, I think we'll see a shift in those numbers. But for now, I think, it makes sense. It's just a little bit counterintuitive how most transactions generate the smallest amount of value, and a few on-chain transactions generate a large amount of values. So yeah, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but that's how it works now.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how this will evolve, and if that will be also the the case in the future when we have more Lightning adoption, actually people knowing about it and using it. What do you think? How will this evolve?
Yeah, I think the main not a problem. The main reason why this happens today is what was Ruing was saying, the limits. So most of the limits and the network liquidity, probably I would say if you try to send the maximum amount in the network, you have probably a higher chance to fail rather than on an on-chain transaction, so you just
Yeah.
don't risk it. Another thing is the wallets itself, the wallet space. Like we in this Bitcoin ecosystem, we know the new wallets, but like the real popular wallets, like that the normal people, like people outside of this bubble, let's say, use, they don't have LN integrations yet, so we can expect our business customers to pay through LN. So I think that's going to be something that will contribute to change the trend, I would say. Get these amounts of the transaction fairly higher. Um, Same thing I was discussing yesterday. We don't have still on ramps for like the LN. We're starting to see some new projects there, which is I'm very excited about that. Are going to bring a lot of liquidity to the network, and that will definitely certainly help this problem. That is not a problem. It's just the natural way that things. We are very early, so
Yeah, yeah. Very reckless. So,
yeah, very reckless.
uh, how did you? As I understand, you manage like the channels and everything for your open.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, manually. So we do that for our customers. So that's a very transparent thing for everyone using OpenNode. You don't need to worry about that. We
Exactly.
do that for our customers. Yeah.
And then, so what strategies do you use to manage such a vast node?
We are like fortunately, since we have money coming in through Lightning, right, for people paying our merchants, but our merchants are also getting the money out to their own Lightning wallets, or we even have Lightning apps that do payments in and send payments out. So our channels are naturally kind of well balanced. Obviously, sometimes they get out of whack, and we have to find ways to get the liquidity out, use loop out, or just close the channel altogether. But mostly, things kind of work out because we have mostly the same amount of money coming in and coming out. So, but yeah, we do have, there's some tools available out there, like Alex Bosworth has the Balance of Satoshis app, which is like a JavaScript thing that you can use to control a few things in your node. So you can use that. There's some tools being developed. There's like, I don't think there's anything out there that is the one-stop solution that everyone's using, but yeah, I think there's a few utilities that you can use if you want to do this on your own node.
Yeah, and it's as we said, it's early, it's reckless.
Yeah.
We have no clue how to actually operate such a vast routing node,
Hmm.
and I guess like you're at the front line learning by doing it.
Yeah, I think there's no official guidelines, there's no tutorials, everyone's just doing it live, I think. But yeah, it's been working for us. So yeah, I think as the network gets bigger and bigger, we'll start seeing best practices coming out of.
Or we'll get more sophisticated tools to actually do to solve those problems. But probably those problems will actually be less of a problem because the network is also bigger. So
Yeah, yeah. Do you open new channels for every client coming in, or do you just like, or how do you decide when and to whom to open the channel to? Right?
so to be honest, like we are fairly well connected to the network. So probably our merchants or our users merchants, they probably have a channel connected to async or to these like these one-stop channels that you see on the wallet, and we are very fairly well connected to these nodes. So fortunately we don't really need to do any kind of manual opening. Most of the people open with us, to be honest. We don't really open channels. We open a few channels we like, businesses that we work directly with. So for instance, we're gonna announce in a few weeks a new partnership with an exchange that we actually use Lightning Network to settle. So we're gonna
Awesome.
use private channels for that. So we do, on that case, we actually open the channels with them because we need to pass the liquidity from to route the liquidity from us to the actual exchange. But rather, like the rest is just natural. We don't really have any problems.
Oh,
In the
fantastic.
early days, we had a lot of payout problems because the net, we were here since the beginning, to be honest. Like a year ago the liquidity was like 10 Bitcoin, 20 Bitcoin. So we had a lot of like payment failures. when people were trying to do payouts via our API. But fortunately today, it's been a while since someone just pinged us and say, "Oh, I can't really send payments." So I think the network, our node is well positioned in the network, and that allows our users and developers to not have problems and not have to deal with those problems, those failures.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I had a routing failure with. It's crazy. It just works now.
Yeah, it's getting way better than it was before.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
also some of the like big players like LN Big started,
Mhm.
offering channels for incoming liquidity, and Async and Breeze Wallet. They start everyone's just starting to, give channels incoming liquidity to people using regular wallets. Really helped out because in the beginning, the only way you could get incoming liquidity would be to open a channel with some merchant and then spend on their service. So
Yeah.
that was not really ideal if you want to receive money without having to spend it first. But now there's some solutions, so I think that also helped a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And do you also consider of becoming more of a Lightning service provider for non-custodial clients? So, for example, directly opening channels to merchants and to their own non-custodial, not open node,
Mhm.
um, to just provide that service.
I mean, there's still definitely space for that in the market. It's not a very well developed market. So what we do is we're not thinking about that in the near term, to be honest with you. But what we do is like if we know there is a high volume merchant that usually cash outs in through LN, which we know we have the data, we will obviously open just channels. We don't charge for it. We just open. Yeah, but right now we're not thinking in providing specifically channel liquidity, just like the Thor from Bitrefill. We have a few things in mind in the pipeline, but more from a consumer side perspective that I believe will solve kind of these problems. But it's too early to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that really is. 2 weeks.
18 months.
One difficulty adjustment, then we'll be done. But what I also really like is that when you so it's a custodial wallet, right? But you have always the opportunity to withdraw, and if you do so over Lightning, it's free, right? You
Mhm.
don't even charge for the withdrawal service.
Yeah.
Why do you cover these costs?
I think we're trying to just incentivize Lightning Network usage. So if you receive money and you have money on OpenNode, we allow you to withdraw your money in I think 4 different ways. So the first one is you can just convert it to fiat and withdraw it to your bank account. Obviously, there's a cost attached to that. You can withdraw it instantly to any on-chain wallet, and there's also a cost attached to that because of network fees and all that. And then we have 2 free ways of getting your money out that are the ones we're really trying to push people to use, obviously. So we have scheduled on-chain transactions. So you can just input your address, and every Monday we'll send you all your balance to all your OpenNode balance to your own keys, or you can withdraw on demand to any Lightning invoice. So both of those options are free because we're really trying to incentivize people to get their money out of OpenNode, and obviously using the Lightning Network, that would be really cool, and we really want to support that. And that also, I think, because we do have API access to OpenNode, that's something we focus on a lot, aside from our merchant services. Having withdrawals free allows a number of use cases that wouldn't really make sense if withdrawals were had a cost attached to them. So if you have you heard about Lightning Gifts? So Lightning Gifts is the service that you can create like a gift card online. So you pay through Lightning, and then it creates a page, and you can send that page to a friend, and you can instantly withdraw the money using the Lightning Network. So that's an example of a service that uses our API. And that wouldn't be really possible because there are no costs attached to this Lightning Gift service. This is like a third party. Obviously, we didn't do it. It's some of our users did it. And this wouldn't really be possible if we had a cost attached to Lightning withdrawal. So we're trying also not only incentivize our merchants, regular merchants, to try out Lightning, but also developers to build applications using the Lightning Network.
Yeah, and one cool thing about the on-chain schedule withdrawals is that we batch all of them, so we don't want to waste block space.
Yeah, that really. As soon as I saw that feature, I was like, they actually know what they're doing. Yes, free batching out. That's
Yeah, and now
makes so much
it's
sense.
weekly every Monday, but as soon as the volume picks up even more, we're gonna start doing probably daily. So
Yeah.
that's the idea.
How large are your batch transactions roughly?
I mean, you can see them; they're on the blockchain.
All right.
No, I mean it really depends. I mean, you mean in volume or how many people were paying out?
Oh, no, no, like UTXOs. I mean, like how many inputs and outputs
Depends.
roughly?
Sometimes it could be 20, sometimes could be 100, sometimes could be.
Yeah.
It
They
really
sometimes
depends.
are really they are really large transactions because obviously we're using the funds that we receive. So it really depends if a merchant for some reason had a week where they sold 100 $5 items. We have a lot of small UTXOs, so sometimes we see like batch transactions with hundreds of inputs. But that's kind of cool because we're using because now the fee market is really with low demand. So that's really cool because we're kind of consolidating all of those transactions and sending it to
Exactly.
a fewer UTXO. So I think that's kind of cool. We'll see how things will play out when the fee market is in higher demand. But yeah, I think yeah, we see a lot of it really depends the batch transaction size, but yeah, we've had at least a few hundred inputs there.
Yeah.
So
And we use Segwit, so
yeah,
and
Obviously,
even
that's
internally we use the back 32. So
fantastic.
it helps.
Yeah, no, it really helps. My Segwit is just is awesome for this. Have you considered doing or coin joins with this capacity, so that, for example, the users who deposit cannot spy on the user who withdraws?
I mean, we we do have that in mind, but it's just a matter of like compliance, and we are U.S. businesses, so it's a little bit tricky. We don't know how the legality of that would be possible or not. But obviously, if we can do that, we will probably do that.
Um,
But LN, in some sense, already provides you somehow anonymity to like some privacy because we don't know who's paying what. We know where we're sending the money to, but we don't know who's paying what. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, in that sense, Francis Pouliot from Bull Bitcoin, also a payment or well,
mhm.
exchange slash payment processor in Canada, he has a very compelling legal argument that a custodial project or like something like a payment processor is required to do coin joins. So, in order to protect the privacy of your clients, right? You can still do all the reporting if necessary because you have all the internal information, but an external party cannot. So that is why he is using a Wasabi wallet to coin join all of his Bull Bitcoin funds.
So yeah, so the coin join that happens here, it's an internal coin join, let's say. So when we
Exactly.
batch the transaction, it's literally multiple inputs from multiple merchants. So no
Exactly.
one knows who belongs to who. They just know they use OpenNode.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but it's not ideal, obviously.
oh yeah, and in that sense, have you considered also doing equal value UTXOs for the transaction batching
Mm,
outside? Because that would help privacy tremendously. Because then you would be a coin join coordinator.
yeah, I mean, yeah, not using round numbers and just these techniques. Like, yeah, I mean, that could be a nice
yeah,
idea.
I think that's definitely interesting. It's mostly a trade-off of privacy with actual user experience because then our merchants they're expecting to receive all their balance in their own keys, and if you do that then they'll be wondering what happened, why am I only getting this amount, or why can I only withdraw once I hit a certain amount. But I definitely think that's interesting. But as one was saying, it would be very hard to figure it out who's paying who
Right.
because we use the inputs paid by the end customers,
Mhm.
and we all the end customers, and then we have a lot of funds that come from channel closings also. So it's really a whole mix of things going on there, so it would be hard to track. I guess it would be not as hard to track as as if we used Wasabi, for example, but it would definitely be interesting. Yeah, it's mostly a question of finding the legal setting that applies to this thing. We would definitely want to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you are already doing coin joins.
Yeah,
It's just they're not yet like tailor made for privacy, and
Yeah.
right.
in the sense that of course you as like these are all your coins, right?
Hmm.
Or well, at least you know about them, you manage them, right?
Yes.
Um, and and in that sense, using Wasabi would only give you privacy against an outside observer because as you said, your transactions are on chain and everyone knows they're open node, right? And so when you add external liquidity from outside open node clients, then this would provide you more privacy in the sense of
Yes,
how much liquidity do you actually
it's
have.
not just from outside. Like even the like Hui was saying, the channel closers,
Yeah, that's true.
HCLCs. It's just a mix.
Yeah,
Like it is probably obviously it could be traceable in the sense, but it's harder.
yeah,
So
it is. It's very yeah.
their risks are not clear in the
Mhm.
in the traditional how chain
Yeah.
analysis and other companies do today. But so
Yeah,
they will probably be able to figure it out, but it will be way harder
yeah,
because there are new variables that they don't use yet,
yeah,
like
exactly.
the lining closures and all that stuff. And as soon as we get batching for lining channels and stuff, it's going to get even more harder and harder. So
Yep, yep,
Yeah, if people start withdrawing using Lightning, that then
yeah,
that doesn't
that doesn't,
even
yeah.
apply. So yeah,
exactly.
but obviously we still want to support on chain because
Mhm.
it still makes sense for a lot of merchants. So yeah, that's something yeah we should look into for sure.
Yeah, that's actually a thing. I mean, I've been using OpenNote for a while now, and I've never done an on-chain withdrawal.
Yeah,
It's always over Lightning. So
Yeah,
it's so
that's
much
that's the
faster.
goal. That's the goal.
It's so much faster. It's cheap. So I mean, why not? If you have the Lightning wallet set up to do that, yeah, sure. And obviously, if the amount fits into a Lightning channel and all that.
yeah, that is the thing. And one thing, as you said, is the API that
Hmm.
you really provide, and I think that is something that really makes or like is a very very good thing that you provide. And on the World Crypto Network, we have Ben Ark doing a bunch of his awesome IoT devices,
Yeah, it's
like
awesome.
hacking stuff together with OpenNote. But what are some of the good like awesome games hacks that you saw others doing with your API?
I mean, I love what Ben is doing with the POS. It's really interesting. I like also Crypto. Crypto has a bunch of games with like, and now we just recently launched this paywall thing. Like you can pay like I don't know 200 sets or 1,000 sets to watch paywall Washington Post. So that means that you don't need to have a subscription to get just pay 1,000 sets. Post a link, you are able to see the whole article. And that's very cool. It's a nice proof of concept. There's a lot of applications like people build on top of us. Do you have any other in
Yeah,
mind?
I would mention Lightning gifts.
Oh yeah.
I mentioned before. That's like a gift card kind of service. There's also another gift card service using Lightning called I think it's Flitz. Is by the guys that make the Bitcoin starter box. So it's mostly aimed at meetups. So if you're a meetup organizer, you can pay, for 20 different gift cards for $1 on Lightning, and the website generates like a PDF you can print, and then you can just cut out in the individual gift cards and then hand those out in conferences or meetups to quickly
Onboard
onboard
people. Yeah.
people on
Awesome,
Lightning. So
awesome.
that's also a really cool
The
service.
the recent project that closed from Lightning Koala, the Koala Studio, used those as well. So there's a lot of projects around there in on that people that are building on Lightning that are using our infrastructure because it's just easier. You don't need to do any channel liquidity. You don't need to know we handle all of that. So and people just want to focus and build an app quick. They don't want to really deal with that. So
Yeah,
it's choices.
yeah, exactly.
As long as people have the option to choose, I think that's the most important.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
I think it's a good way to get started if
Yeah.
you don't if you have something you imagine would be cool and you're a developer and you want to quickly do that and see if it sticks, see if people use it. It's really much easier to just sign up for OpenNode and use our API and build the actual app using OpenNode. And then if it goes viral and everyone's using it, you always have the option obviously to set up your own node and start doing that instead. But yeah, I think it's a really easy way to get started, to say the least. Obviously, you will find that running your own node sometimes comes with a lot of trade-offs that you have. There's a few things you have to manage for yourself, which for some people is completely fine. For other people, they would rather offload that work to someone else, and that's where I think that's the space that we fit in as a company.
awesome. So for right now, you're Bitcoin only.
Right now, and
when is the XRP support coming?
I don't know. We're waiting for the proposal. We had the Roger Reverse one, so now we're waiting for the XRP proposal.
Yeah, we plan to stay Bitcoin only. It's actually sometimes a pain because we've had customers before that shows other payment processors because they have customers paying on a number of shit coins. But yeah, we intend to stick with the plan, even though it costs us money in terms of investments by these coins and even customers that we lose. But I mean, those
Playing
companies
the long
will
term
yeah,
game.
those companies
Exactly.
will lose in the medium to long term. So we want to be there uh, to win out when in the end game in the Bitcoinized world. Yeah, we'll already be well ahead of all those other companies, I think.
And I mean, yes, you might see it like that, that oh, you lost some customers, but on the other hand, I mean, you can focus all your development only on
Yes.
one protocol, and so where do you think the advantages is of having that focus on the development side?
One simple example is the checkout page. If you go look at
Ah,
other payment processors, super confusing as someone that is probably not even familiar with this space just sees a bunch of coins like what is this, what is the difference, which one should I choose. Well, in our case, literally a simple clean interface where you just have Bitcoin and that's it, so that's one like thing that everyone can see clearly. um I don't know, like even development costs, infrastructure costs, you don't need to know to be expert in multiple blockchains or whatever. We can just focus on that and just make sure that it's secure, that it works very well.
I think
Um,
also education.
oh yeah,
So we're starting to put out, a few educational pieces in our blog to really help our merchants understand the ethos of Bitcoin, because we have a lot of merchants that for them Bitcoin is just another avenue to get money. It's just like I accept you PayPal, I accept Stripe, I accept Western Union, and now I accept Bitcoin. I don't know much about Bitcoin, but we want to teach our merchants how to properly get offload the money to their own keys, why they should do that, why Bitcoin only, what are all these other coins, why you should not accept them. And if you have 90 different coins that you support, you have to teach your customers about 90 different things, and that's no one's going to do that,
yeah,
obviously. So I think it's really important because I think it makes us focused on a mission of accepting only accepting Bitcoin, makes us really focused and makes us have a clear vision of what we want to do and how we want to do it, and we can guide and steer our merchants towards that direction also. And we've seen some success with merchants adopting good practices that we are trying to teach them. So
very
I
awesome.
think that's also another point.
Yeah, and that's just like the transaction batching is just one perfect
Hmm.
example. Like they just realize, okay, yeah, once every week that works. Like that is all right,
yeah.
and you
We have a
just
lot
get it
of
much
people
cheaper.
using that. To be honest.
Yeah, very very awesome. So, what are some of the new things that you're tinkering on? What is about to come in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, like I was bringing up before, we're gonna. I'm very excited about this personally because I think it's kind of the first time we see a business with an exchange working actually with a Lightning network. So we'll be able to set to route all our merchants' funds through LN to this exchange. So with this deal, we're gonna cover South America, Chile, Colombia, Peru, and Argentina, which is I think there is people there that actually interact with Bitcoin. Um, I think it's gonna be good. We're also launching a couple new features on the dashboard side of it, more targeted at bigger businesses. So we're gonna probably launch sub accounts, which allow you to have a
Oh, good.
master account and then multiple businesses.
That's good.
We just launched the new checkout like 2 weeks ago. New checkout experience with
What is that about?
helps. You
Yeah,
can.
I mean, this change, it wasn't a very significant change. It was mostly, before our checkout, because we are Bitcoin only, there aren't many things you can choose because you can only pay with Bitcoin. But still, we were making the user choose between on-chain Bitcoin and Lightning Bitcoin because there are different QR codes and different addresses and all that. And we found that for some people it was a bit confusing because for us, obviously, I know if I want to pay on chain, I click on chain. If I want to pay with Lightning, I click Lightning. But even if you do know Bitcoin, you might not know what on chain is because, I mean, if you always did on chain, you don't even know that has a name.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just a Bitcoin
Default.
transaction.
Yeah,
So, now we're leading with the on chain address. And if you want to pay with Lightning, you can just use the tab and switch to the Lightning invoice. So we feel like that improved the end user experience a little bit. And we had it also a help center. So if you don't know, what is Bitcoin and you just landed on that page that a merchant sent you, there's now a built-in help center that like
nice.
kind of overlays the checkout and teaches you what is Bitcoin. If you're paying through an exchange, how should you do it? If you're paying with your own wallet, how to do that, what is on chain, what is Lightning. So a little bit of our educational push now steered toward more the end customer. But yeah, we really want to get to the stage where we can show just one QR code, and there's a few ways to do it. You can embed the the Lightning payment request inside the BIP21, or you can do it the other way around, embed the BIP21 inside the Bolt 11. But some wallets, not there. None of those work flawlessly in every wallet, especially when you start pasting those in exchanges and stuff like that. Gets really tricky. So we're kind of waiting until we see which one of these options is going to be most adopted, and we really want to get to that stage, because then our checkout experience is really just one page, one QR code. There are no decisions, nothing for you to do. It's even simpler than it is already simpler now than using Stripe, and there's no like you don't have to fill in a bunch of fields and your address and your zip code and all of that. But yeah, once we get to the stage that there's one QR code, I feel like that's the final
Yeah.
best experience for Bitcoin payments. And you can also have like in person, maybe NFC will be a bit better than that. I think what the wallet of Satoshi's guys are working on that. But for web payments, I think that's the best thing that could
Yeah,
happen.
and I just saw today a tweet about a guy with the book. He put an NFC tag, and it was connected to his OpenNote account. So if you want to buy that book, you just tap it, just pay. So that was cool. So people, that's the thing. The community just comes with ideas around our product and our API, and that helps us a lot as well. So we learn with our user base too, and we change, we iterate according to their feedback and what they're trying to build. So I think that's also very important. We are very user centric.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I on the second floor here with all the like lightning hacky stuff, awesomeness. And it was just a bunch of QR codes, and it was just so casual for everyone. Everyone was just like scanning them, tapping, done. It was no longer like, oh, what do I do? Like, where's the wallet? Like, it's just
Yeah,
intuitive.
we've had a couple conversations with some people that thought, oh, QR codes are a little bit cumbersome. But I think if you look at China, for example, everyone's using QR codes every single day. It's not really,
Yeah.
if you never saw a QR code before, I guess that's a little bit frightening. What's these all these black boxes? But I
I think
mean,
our
it's yeah.
generation.
I mean, you just have to really point your phone at it. So yeah, once you did it a couple times, it's really like just like anything else. And I think just looking at what we pay inside WeChat is doing, and everyone in China uses that. There are places that don't take cash or credit cards or anything. They just take we pay, and everyone knows how to use it. So
Yeah.
with Bitcoin, it will just be exactly the same thing, and I think it will be fine.
And even in the US, if you look at Lime, if you look at Birds, they use QR codes for you to pay for the ride. So people, they're also leading with that, and people understand the concept. So I don't think the QR code is a problem anymore, or at least for the future generations. Maybe for older generations, it's a little bit tricky. But like I think most of
But it's easy
people,
to learn
yeah,
though, because
it's
you
not
just
hard.
have to point your
Yeah,
phone at it.
yeah.
It's not really rocket science.
Yeah, so and I think it's going to be like a three-pronged attack. Like if on the laptop, it's going to be like just the automatic open in wallet, like Lightning semicolon
Right.
something invoice, and then just pops up your wallet and you pay it instantly. Or it's going to be the QR code or the NFC tag.
In our
That's
checkout, we
done.
actually provide both. We provide a button which, if you click it out, if you are on desktop, it will open your default wallet, and if you are on mobile, it will just open your default mobile wallet. But we also provide the QR code, because if you are using a device that you don't have the wallet on, you can still point at it.
Yeah, and just that it's super intuitive, super convenient. It just
Yeah,
works.
I think with Lightning, things like LN URL really help the experience, because sometimes if you have a mobile Lightning wallet and you have a website on your laptop and you want to withdraw money from your laptop, the site you're using on your laptop to your mobile wallet, it's really hard to. That experience is trickier than it sounds, because then you have to go on on your mobile wallet, generate an
Yeah.
invoice, and then find a way to copy and paste it over. Uh, from the phone to the laptop. I guess if you use a MacBook, they have kind of they have like something that
Copy.
automatically copies and pastes over devices. But for most people, that's kind of a tricky experience. So things like LN URL, I feel like they will be very useful in terms of user experience.
I would personally want that to be more embedded at protocol level with the key send that we watched yesterday, because I like the LN URL, but it comes also with a little bit trade-offs in terms of security because you are trusting the web server, you're trusting the certificate. So it works for now. It might be something that boosts this kind of problem, but I think long term we should not rely on that.
Mhm.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we'll continue building this awesome stuff.
Oh yeah.
And the best tools we'll use.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
definitely.
we're excited for the future. So
Yeah. Yeah. And how awesome is it that you can focus your full attention just on building out this without wasting any time on shitcoins? So I think you're here at the forefront to
Yeah.
really like get the cutting edge stuff going. Awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies now are starting to realize that it's much better to focus on Bitcoin only products and businesses. So I think we were a bit early in this trend, but I think now people are starting to
we
realize
started the revolution.
yeah, people are now realizing that. Yeah, and also because obviously the shitcoins value just dropped significantly, so I think that also helped. But I think it's a good time if people are thinking about starting businesses. There's a good time to consider going Bitcoin only for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Piers,
Yeah,
for
thank you
joining.
for
Thank
having
you.
us.
That was fantastic. Keep up the great work
Yeah.
and keep on building.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Awesome.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.